All right, we're going to talk about budgeting, which is really just creating a system, right? Your system. I like to use QuickBooks. Now, if you're not, if you are not uh, in a business, or maybe you have, you know, if you're not making significant amount of money, you're not doing a lot of things with your money. Um, QuickBooks might be a little much, okay? But you need to have some way of tracking your, not just tracking your your spending, but actually like a dashboard, something you can see what you're doing. Okay, for debt management, credit repair, you want to increase your cash flow, budgeting, asset allocation strategies. They're all things that you got to, unless you know where your money's going and where it's coming from and where it's going, you're never going to get ahead. You're never going to accumulate anything. That's the name of the game. Okay, just because you have enough coming in to cover, what you're spending naturally, isn't going to, because you'll spend it all every month. You'll spend it all. Okay, you got to start, allocating, 10% for the tithe. All right, 10% goes into savings automatic. Right, first the first two things. Right, then you pay, you know, your your debts, and then your expenses. Right, and then what you have left over, you should be padding your savings. Right. Okay. So let's look at this. Okay. So I did this presentation. I have done this presentation to the left. Um, the debt roll up. This guy's got a $399,750 mortgage, for total debt. Um, $338,400 mortgage, 5% interest. Right, $1,816 a month is his payment. Um, the you know Doing this debt roll up, just adding $100 extra to his the payment to the smallest debt, paying his bills on time. And that debt gets paid off. He takes that debt service amount, that $110 a month, and adds it to the payment of the home improvement loan. All right, and just keeps rolling it up, ends up paying everything off in a 30-year mortgage in 30 years worth of debt in 17 and a half years. He's going to save $417,300 in interest. But you implement this pill method, this is where you're adding. So you take it, when you figure out, when you can call your mortgage company, and they'll tell you how much, of your payment goes toward principal. Most of it's interest. In this case, of that the $1,816 a month, $500 a month goes towards savings. Right, paying that $500 mid-month, so 11 days after the due date, paying it. Doing the first paid on the 12th, you're going to knock off over 5.5 years of debt, right? But now your $600 extra a month is going to pay everything off in 12 years. Okay, you're going to save a total of $606,253.44 in interest. That sounds pretty good, right? But then check this out. This is a family banking strategy. This is a whole life policy. All right, the paying pretty much the same as paying, that debt service. You basically pay that into the policy. All right, you overfund the policy enough to cover your debt service amount. Okay, and then you just pay your bills on time. After year 10, right, you've got enough to borrow out of the policy, enough to pay off all of your debt. Okay, so now you're just paying yourself back. and you just keep paying. In 10 more years, you got a fully paid off house, and you got $488,227 in your account. That's not paying $600 extra a month like the other scenario. That is paying what you're paying now into the policy, borrowing that money out of the policy, and paying your bills on time. With the same you're paying right now, getting you out of debt faster, and at the same time accumulating cash with tax advantage. Okay, so looking at credit. So the guy that started that developed the credit scoring system for the credit bureaus, Rusty Breezy. All right, he created a consumer dashboard. I chased him for 4 years trying to get access to be able to market his system. Okay, finally, 3 years ago, he got it done. All right, and so I on my website, mybusinessyourbusiness.info, there's a banner for Score Navigator. All right, so for one bureau, experience less than $6 a month. All right, for all three credit bureaus, it's less than $50 a month. Okay. Here's the trick: you get on there, and there's all kinds of tools you can use. There's form letters for credit disputes. Um, it can show you. It's got a little calculator, showing if you want a 720 FICO score, exactly what you got to do to get your score up to 720. It'll tell you exactly what to do. Now, with my background, my expertise, I can help get things done quicker. Okay, using this system. All right, but it's enter on my website, right? But it can help you manage your credit. Now, once you get everything cleared up, past derogatories, charge-offs, and lates off your credit, then you can just revert back to the Experian, all right? Less than $6 a month. Okay, but this is a great tool. Okay, to manage your credit. Okay. Now you got to pay attention to who you're listening to. I've actually heard Dave Ramsey live. He's a great speaker. He's got some good leadership, discipline, understanding. All right, but there's something that he doesn't have, right? In most cases, all right. He has he doesn't really understand life insurance, all right, and he's totally fixated on putting everything toward debt. Okay, now you'll get that debt paid off, right? But you will get way behind in your savings. If you're not completely paid off on that debt, and you got a hiccup in your income, right? You spent that money. You got no reserves. You got nothing to fall back on, right? To get yourself out of your situation. You may lose whatever your house, your mortgage, or whatever that you're trying to pay off faster doing it this way. All right. So you can find all kinds of people debunking what his advice. Okay. And the big thing is that like a lot of people, it has a lack of faith in people that they can do it. They can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Now I've seen people like that. I talk to mortgage people and accountants all the time. When I used to be in a company that recruited, and they know how to look at They can look at bank statements, and tax returns, and pay stubs, and investment statements, and they know what they're looking at, right? But trying to get them to understand how to take that same information and apply it to get somebody to where they want to be financially, that paid off, saving enough with the great kind of tax advantages so they can have a live in dignity, not have to worry about hustling to make money all the time, right? And they can do what they want to do. They can't do that. I joke, it's like trying to teach a drunk woman how to do the contemporary double two-step. They can't make that transition from side to other side, side to other side, walk, walk. Now I got some that are starting. They're starting to pay attention. But but that's the same disease, same thing, the same challenge he has. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, but you got to walk and chew gum at the same time. You can pay off your debt and increase your savings and increase your credit scores all at the same time. Like I said, I like to use QuickBooks. There's all kinds of budgeting tools out there. It all starts and ends with a budget. You got to be able to what if people just like they just don't like doing it. They just you know look at they can look at a pay stub and they don't really know what they're making. They can see, yep, so much an hour, there's so much in overtime, right? Then you got to look at the after the income tax withdrawals. That's your net every month. Okay, you can do things to increase that by increasing your exemptions. Okay, if you own a house, that's a big tax deduction. The interest payment is a big tax deduction. If you have kids are a big tax write-off. If you haven't got that, unless you have a business, you don't have a lot to write off. Okay, but you got to just use. There's all kinds of free stuff, but you want to pay it. It used to be you carried around a checkbook that had a register, and every time you spent money, you deducted what you spent from your balance. You could have a look. I used to do that. My first wife, she hated that. I had to take the checkbook for her, get it all, catch up to what her spending was. She didn't want to keep track of it. Most people don't. They just want to. They just want to know there's money there. They spend it until they run out. All right. And if they're not the one that has to make sure they got to replenish it, they don't really care. You got to really get people paying attention. And you got to figure out what their goals are. You got to know what your goals are, or it's not important enough to do anything about it. Right? You have a goal, right? And this is the key. You got to keep track of what you're making. You got to keep track of what you're spending. You got to keep track of what you're saving. You got to know how much you got to save, have what you want, whether it's a house or a lifestyle or whatever. You got to make it a target, work toward it. You got to have a plan, right? How to increase your credit score. You pull a free credit report, you dispute the trade lines, you dispute derogatory trade lines, and dispute inaccurate trade lines. My son didn't have a lot of credit, but his credit was really low. He was working for Tesla, and he wanted to have his own S3. So I had him pull a free credit report and looked at it, and there was a derogatory on the credit report that was not his, and it was through Experian. And Experian's website, you could dispute it right on the website, right? And in 48 hours, he was driving his own S3. Okay, TransUnion, you got to fax something into them. All right. Equifax, I'm not so sure about, but they're easy to get a number to call, right? And if you got your credit report in front of you, they'll go over it with you. And you paid something off, they'll ask you for a statement. If there's something here's what happens: if you've paid off a debt and then you dispute it, the company gets the dispute letter. They look at you paid, there's zero balance. There's nobody, they'll pay anybody to dispute a dispute, all right, or challenge a dispute. If you've paid it, they don't care. And if in 4 days, if they don't respond, that comes off your credit report. All right. Gotta have the budget. It's back to the budget. Know how much you're making gross income before taxes, calculate your net income after taxes, track your spending, identify where you're hemorrhaging money, 10% tithe, 10% save, 45% or less debt service, and budget everything. If you like to go out to dinner, right, or go to the movies, or have just Buy presents for your people that you love, your kids, your mom, dad, people you work with. Put it in the budget. Make that part of the budget. All right. All right. Okay. So that's the down and dirty, quick, right? But it's so important. Just got to be conscious of what you're making and what you're spending and what you're saving and why you're saving, how much you need to save. Okay. The younger you are, the better. All right. Next week, we're going to talk about um, transitioning from saving to business development. Okay. Younger you are, uh, better it is to save. Okay. But get older, you don't have time. You don't have time. You got to make more money. All right. And the best way to make more money is multiple streams of income. And that means business development means something called a synchronistic business strategy. You have interest or ownership in businesses that support your main business or your main area of expertise, where you're the subject matter expert. Okay. And businesses that companies that you either use their product or they can use your product or service. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. All right. Thank you for showing up. I'll be posting this on YouTube and link to it on my website, yourbusiness.info, and I'll be sending out to some specific people. All right.